look, we need to have a real talk about the old man. Some people treat Coach Kamogawa like he's the Yoda of boxing. But if you take off the nostalgia goggles for 5 seconds, you realize that the guy is basically running a legal meat grinder. The thing is, Kamogawa is a brilliant coach. The man is a master builder. He took a kid who looked like he'd apologized to a door frame and turned him into a tank. He drilled the muscles and drilled the basics until they were muscle memory. As a trainer in a basement gym, that man is a genius. But the second they step through those ropes, Kamogawa becomes a total liability. For example, the ghetto fights. Ippo is getting peppered by a reach he can't understand, and Kamogawa's genius idea is literally to tell Ippo to take as many shots as he needs to remember them with his body. That is insane, bro. That's an invitation to the CTE Express. Then, like 1 or 2 rounds later, the coach finally realizes Geto's feet and starts screaming advice. Takamura, sitting all the way back in the seats, just sighs and says, "Took you long enough." Think about that. The guy in the nosebleed saw what the second right next to the ring couldn't see for like 2 or 3 rounds. And by the time they hit the world stage against Gonzalez, the coach is completely out of his depth. They practice the body shot together, but when it doesn't work, Kamogawa is speechless. He has no plan B. He just leans on the only thing he knows, Ippo's ability to eat shit and keep walking. He tells Ippo to just take it to him and don't let him rest. It's the most generic basement tier advice you could give against the number 2 featherweight in the world. Just go in there and spam some shots, Ippo. Just be stronger. It's laughable. Gonzalez even said it himself. He wasn't losing to Ippo's boxing. He was just getting pissed off because Ippo wouldn't fall down. The only reason the fight even went that far was because Ippo's skull is apparently made of reinforced concrete. When Ippo finally rushed in like the coach ordered, Kamogawa looked like he was watching a kid get abducted by 10 wolves. He had this vision of Miguel Zale warning him about a great disaster, and the man was so clueless he didn't even understand what it meant while it was happening right in front of him. Then comes the Guevara fight. The absolute nail in the coffin. Ippo is falling apart and Kamogawa is literally asking himself in his head, is he broken? But instead of doing his job and stopping the slaughter, he tells himself he's seen Ippo pull through before. Takamura, the guy people call a sociopath, is the only one being rational. He tells the coach in his mind that the kid is busted and to end it before he gets completely junked. Kamogawa actually picks up the towel though. He's about to save his kid. But then, Ippo lands one nasty counter and drops Guevara, and suddenly the coach gets a shot of excitement and changes his mind. He decides to let Ippo's brain suffer a bit more because it got exciting. He tells himself he'll stop it if Ippo starts acting strangely. As if Ippo hadn't been acting strangely for the last 3 fights, bro. Seconds before the final knockout, he has that Miguel Zale vision again. The Great Disaster flashback. This is the second time he's seeing it. He had an entire training camp between Gonzalez and Guevara to think about that warning and he did nothing. He just marched his son back into the meat grinder and waited for the disaster to come. Here's the thing though, Kamogawa isn't the finished product either. We are watching a story where the coach is growing just as much as the students. He was unprepared for the featherweight world stage because he had never been there. He is in new terrain and he's finally starting to realize that his old school grit is not working anymore. With Takamura, he finally has a student skilled enough to inspire him and give him actual tactical ideas. He is learning how to be a modern second through Takamura's genius. That's why this is not just Ippo's comeback story. It's also Kamogawa's redemption arc. He is also getting better. It just sucks that Ippo's brain had to be the tuition fee for the lesson. Like and subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.